The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz Podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today. And today I have with me Pastor Nick, which it's always a great treat to have him in. Sometimes he's not always available, and sometimes he's busy up in Johnstown. But this week was kind of special because we're doing a rotation throughout the summer with our Summer Psalm series, and Pastor Nick got the opportunity to come down in Gehenna and share the message this past Sunday. So he is preaching from Psalm 49 this week, and we're going to talk a little bit about kind of how he came about that. And, well, welcome in, Pastor Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Now, in truth, you get to do a few of these because there's a couple times that you're going to be preaching live in Johnstown and doing a psalm. In fact, you did just a few weeks ago. But...
And I really like that one. I wanted to do that one again, yeah. But it's just not how it went. So Psalm 49.
The Lord was directing you to Psalm 49, and I sense a little bit of reluctance from you on that.
Oh, yeah.
So what's that about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's what I mentioned. It just feels like every time for those of you that are part of our Gehenna campus, like I said, I'm not going to apologize, but man, just know that I'm aware, that it feels like every time I come around to the Gehenna campus, it's like, man, Nick, don't you have just a more uplifting, joyful word for us? And it just feels very heavy the last couple times I've been around. So it is what it is. But Psalm 49 was kind of like that.
I think you're in the same company. I'm trying to remember which prophet it was, but there was an Old Testament prophet, and one of the kings was like, don't bring him to give the message because
everyone saw he's like, oh, he's around again.
Right. Anytime I see that prophet, it's bad news. Yeah. So, we don't want you to get stuck with that moniker. Psalm 49, you had mentioned, is kind of a little different than some of the other psalms.
Yeah, a little bit different style. I mean, it's just type of psalm that's we've mentioned before. There's different types of psalms, right? There's different ones, laments, and just other ones of hymns of praise and thanksgiving. And I really wish I could have picked one of those. I mean, I could have, but I would have went against kind of where the Lord was leading and kept bringing me back to. So all these different types, royal psalms, and Psalm 49, like we mentioned, is a wisdom song. It's and there's a few of them out throughout all the psalms, but it's more of, it's certainly relatable, right? But it's more of an instructional, like you are to be, if you want to be wise, like listen to this, listen up, take these instructions, apply them, think about them. And that's really what this psalm was all about, inviting us to wisdom and what that looks like and how we are to be because of that. So
now, when you're saying it's a psalm of wisdom, tell us a little bit about the subject matter. I mean, it's instructional, but what's the kind of the thrust of this psalm?
Well, just a nice, cheery topic that everyone loves to think about and address, and but it's just our mortality, our death, and that the inevitability, the unavoidableness of that, and how if we are to be wise, how are we supposed to think about that? How are we supposed to be in light of that? And so that's what this psalm invites us to not ignore it, but to just be real about it and addressing some of the things that come with, if you don't ever think about it or want to avoid it, like you're in for a surprise. I mean, it's not going to be good to do that. So that's what this psalm invites us to pull back the illusion that some people have in regards to that whole subject. And so we want to be wise, right? We want to be, the scriptures are all about inviting us to be wise and not foolish. And we certainly want to be that kind of person, type of people, a collective and individually, people who desire wisdom. I mean, there's a whole book, right? The Proverbs. Yeah. And this psalm very much fits into that kind of theme. And I mean, that's how the song opens. The psalmist says, like, my words are filled, are wise and are filled with insight. So,
and when I see that verse that you had pulled out of there, it says, my words are wise and my thoughts are filled with insight. To me, it read just like one of the Proverbs.
Like, get your attention kind of thing. Like, okay.
Like many times now, later on in the New Testament, when Jesus is speaking, he kind of had a little bit of a catchphrase as well. It was kind of like, if for those who have ears, let him hear. And then he would say something that was going to be significant.
Better be paying attention. Yeah. And like, take it or leave it, but you better, it would be wise of you to take it. So certainly.
So along with this concept of, why is it that that the scripture here is talking about wise people will consider their mortality? Wise people will consider death. What's the correlation between the two?
Because it's reality. It's unavoidable, and to think like that's we are appointed a time to be born, and we are appointed a time to die, and to ignore that reality, I mean, just saying it out loud is foolish, right? And so that's the correlation. To be wise, we give thought to that our perspective, our what we live for is not just in what the things of this world. We are to say, oh yeah, this is a reality. What are we to do about this? And then the foolish person thinks, sometimes completely ignores it, avoids it in a couple different ways, avoids it in thought, or thinks that they can avoid it altogether. And the wise person says, no, we don't want to ignore it in thought, but we also know that we can't avoid this reality. And so we are to be wise in that.
And I guess if we were to put a little asterisk or a caveat on this topic, like, you're not talking about every day we should really be, just down in the dumps thinking about our death.
Right.
And
please don't. If you're listening, please don't. I mean, it's not to think about this in an unhealthy, morbid kind of way, a depressive way, but it's to just understand, like, our mortality is a very real thing. Like, that's what the scriptures say. If we want to go ahead and mention this other scripture that I mentioned from Ecclesiastes.
Sure, go ahead.
Ecclesiastes 7:5. The mind of the wise is in the house of mourning, while the mind of fools is in the house of pleasure. Like other translations say, like, the wise give thought to death, the fool thinks only of having a good time. So it's not in an unhealthy way to bring us down, but really to just be able to be aware of that, so that we're not just living for the here and now, but we're living in light of our time here ending, but then that up against the backdrop of eternity. Like, what then? What are we going to do about this unavoidable inevitability? What are we to do?
Well, and I think that there is it's not an emotional look per se at our mortality. It's more of an informed look at our mortality, where it's like, I'm not contemplating my own death or how I'm going to die, or the horrible way that my end will come. It's not that kind of negative thinking. It's more along the lines of knowing that I'm at this point in my life, and given normal life expectancies, I have maybe this much time left. How would that inform the decisions I make today?
Yep.
And also going beyond that, recognizing that my mortality is not the end of me. It's the end of my time here. And so it's like, I think of, right now as we're recording, and when you're hearing this, it'll have already happened. But as we're recording, my son Luke is getting ready to leave for Uganda. So he has the reality that I have until Saturday morning to get my stuff together. Everything that had to be done, his shots, his paper, his passport, his visa, packing, all that stuff had to be done by a particular time because he's going to be leaving. And it's not that his life will be over when he leaves here. It's that I'm going to be in a different place, and I won't be here anymore to take care of things. And there's certain things that I need to get done before I can go on the trip. And so I guess maybe in the same way that sheds some light on how the wise would look at their physical death, in that if I have this much time left and knowing that the end will come, how do I best use my time right now? Kind of that focus.
Yeah, that's exactly what the psalmist brings out, is highlighting the different ways that we can respond to those things. And like I mentioned, it's not the most joyful of things, messages, but that's what I shared in the message, that I was like, God, in preparation for all this, God, are you sure? Psalm 49. And I had a couple other options where I was like, oh, how about this? How about this? How about this psalm? Give joy, be joyful, and give thanksgiving. Enter his courts with praise. Why not one of those, God? And I would try. For a little while, I'd read through it, and okay, every time God just kept bringing me back to Psalm 49. And so I'll trust that that word was for someone, and that God spoke to hopefully more than one of us, but revealed some truth to this. And but yeah, Psalm 49. Do you want me to read it, Joe? Or
yeah, I was thinking, let's go ahead and read 49, and maybe we'll at least get started on our discussion, and then tomorrow we'll really get into some of the meat of what's being said there. But yeah, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, Psalm 49. Here's what it says. It says, "Listen to this, all you people. Pay attention, everyone in the world. High and low, rich and poor, listen." Including everyone on the podcast. He's drawing our attention to everyone, everywhere. He says in verse 3, "For my words are wise and my thoughts are filled with insight. I listen carefully to many proverbs and solve riddles with inspiration from a harp." And so it's actually, just a real quick side note, some of my commentaries like this, we don't get this from reading this, but this was a psalm that was probably to music, sung. And so it's just even more weird to think about, like all this content being to a song from a harp. So anyway, verse 5 says, "Why should I fear when trouble comes? When enemies surround me, they trust in their wealth and boast of great riches. They cannot redeem themselves from death by paying a ransom to God. Redemption does not come so easily, for no one can ever pay enough to live forever and never see the grave. Those who are wise must finally die, just like the foolish and senseless, leaving all their wealth behind. The grave is their eternal home where they will stay forever. They may name their estates after themselves, but all their fame will not last. They will die just like animals. This is the fate of fools, though they are remembered as being wise. Like sheep, they are led to the grave, where death will be their shepherd. In the morning, the godly will rule over them, and their bodies will rot in the grave, far from their grand estates. But as for me, God will redeem my life. He will snatch me from the power of the grave. So don't be dismayed when the wicked grow rich and their homes become ever more splendid. For when they die, they take nothing with them. Their wealth will not follow them into the grave. In this life, they consider themselves fortunate and are applauded for their excess. But they will die like all before them and never again see the light of day. People who boast of their wealth don't understand that they will die just like animals."
You're right. It's very uplifting.
I know.
As you were reading, I was thinking years ago, I don't know that I can give tribute to the correct speaker, but I can remember somebody sharing a similar passage, and it was talking about, what we leave behind and saying, I've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse, and you're not taking it with you. And so definitely we do see this psalm played out in our world today. It wasn't just in that time period, but we definitely see today where it would appear some of the scripture would say is the wicked or the sinful, that they seem to prosper and things go well for them in this life, and
boast about it and grow in arrogance, and this psalm addresses some of that in a very wow, yeah, okay.
All right, well, I think we're going to get into all of that tomorrow and look a little bit into the actual some of those verses and your thoughts on those. So in the meantime, we encourage you to dive back in and read back through Psalm 49, and also you can check out everything that's going on at the church by going to shepnaz.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For Pastor Nick, I'm Joe. Have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.